Hi, I'm Marty Nemko, and I must plead guilty to being type A. What is type A? Type A is somebody who tends to be doing everything fast and is kind of driven. And of course, one pays a price for that. You seem like you're out of control, people just find it uncomfortable, and you tend to rush and therefore make errors. But it's rarely seen as a positive characteristic, and maybe I'm just being defensive, but I thought I would share with you how type A behavior has actually helped my life a lot. And maybe might offer some tips for you or the person in your life who is a type A. So certainly, most importantly, by doing things quickly, while you'll make more mistakes, you do get a lot more done. And this is not to brag, but just merely to say, for example, chronologically, I played over 2,000 weddings and bar mitzvahs between when I was 12 and 22, while going to school full-time and college full-time and driving a cab. I still managed to do all that. I have written 12 books and 3,500 articles. I've made 250 or so of these videos. And all of the articles, lest it be seen that type A rushing is a guarantor of poor quality, they're all in major publications. And the books have sold over 250,000 copies, including my book Careers for Dummies, which I'm quite proud of. It's a particularly good graduation gift, or something for anybody a year or two either side of graduation. It's everything you need to know how to launch your career and succeed in it. Look at the Amazon reviews, they're great. End of commercial, but now I want to talk about specifically what may be of value to you in terms of making the most of your type A behavior and minimizing the weaknesses. Let's start talking about work. Type A's are not well received in the standard workplace, including corporate, especially nonprofit. You're expected to be nice and moderate, pleasant, little perky smiles. If you're type A, you can't control that, and soon enough, it could be in the first 5 minutes, you're going to piss people off. So generally, the wisest thing for real type A's to do is to either work for a high-intensity startup or be self-employed. Second, on the job, normally you can dissipate some of the antipathy by giving them an advance warning that this is who you are, and it's not an attempt to be rude when you're interruptive. It's not that you're rude. It's merely just built into your personality. It's probably something like partly caused by an overactive adrenal gland. And this is, I mean, right now, I didn't intend to do this, but I drank a cup of coffee an hour ago. So I'm already type A, and of course drinking coffee makes you more so. But deep down, I like to think that all of this energy or whatever is a net plus, at least in a context like this, where I'm not having to interact with groups, but I'm just talking directly to you. It's kind of energizing and refreshing for some people to hear, because to hear somebody like me, at least occasionally. I don't wear well, but in small doses, type A people do really well. And so, and acknowledging that to people and apologizing, for if it's annoying, can make them actually more tolerant of you. More about the workplace. Generally, type A's are much better working as individual contributors than on teams. And teams make them go nuts. And because they're either faced with a catch-22, a Hobson's choice between interrupting all the time and talking so fast people don't understand you, or forcing yourself to shut up, putting duct tape over your mouth, and therefore feeling like you're being too constrained. So being an individual contributor, and if you're having to give input, better to do it in writing where you can control things. Your type A behavior doesn't so readily reveal itself. But type A people tend to, in writing, tend to have a lot of errors. So please, before you send something of any importance out, even your email, make sure you go over it slowly. And one of the ways for a type A to be able to do that and not go too fast in going over it is to read it aloud. Read it aloud slowly as if you're telling a story to a child. That can often be very helpful. What else? It does help also if you can have as a boss a fellow type A. Now, I will say on the social side, because I am so dominating, and I get, I don't mean to be angry, but there's this visceral anger that is within me that is the defining characteristic of type A. My friends tend to be quite smart, but they're also type B. They're very relaxed. And so that doesn't bring, and not argumentative, and so that brings out the more conciliatory side of me. And unfortunately, I do have a number of good friends. So despite my being an annoying type A, by choosing people who are intelligent but also type B, I'm able to have a good social life. And I suppose that that's a good way to transition into the social life matters, parts of being type A. Again, I do, I'm married and I love my wife. We've been married 42 years together for 45 years. But what makes me tolerable to her, and I think she would agree that we have a good marriage, is that we spend a tremendous amount of time apart. I don't expect her to participate in all my hobbies. I mean, I rush even in doing gardening. I tend to have these little games where I try to see how much I can get done so quickly. That's not Barbara. She doesn't like gardening to begin with, and she certainly doesn't like to rush. So, if you're a type A, do a lot of your recreation solo. I hike, and again, I'm always hiking quickly. It's always rushing. Not that it's healthy. I'm well aware that it's probably secreting all that adrenaline is not healthy. But I'm very fortunate. Next month I'll be 69 years old, and according to my doctor and my own way I feel like I'm in perfect health. I have no issues. So, yes, probably on average, secreting too much adrenaline and cortisol is not healthy for you. But it's so hard to change your damn personality. You find yourself more stressed out trying to change being a type A than just accepting yourself. We all must accept ourselves, whether we're phlegmatic or type A, whether we're brilliant or we're not brilliant. Those things are not as malleable as they like to make us feel. And that's true of weight loss. We're all told, endless sources of diets, but 98% of people who lose weight on diets gain it all back and more. So ultimately, accept basic self-acceptance. I'm not saying you should pork your way into obesity, but stop with the diets. Most of it's yo-yoing, and yo-yoing is worse than just self-acceptance. Accept, your natural body type for what it is, and in the end, that's probably going to be better and certainly less guilt-provoking. What else? So while I'm talking now about health, is there anything else around type A that's around mental or physical health? Yes, it really is that issue of acceptance. People go into therapy forever, and the American way is that we're infinitely malleable, and if we just work hard enough and study hard enough or pray hard enough or whatever, we can change. I am, the older I get, the more I'm a believer that genetics is a predisposition that is very hard to change. Yes, we can change around the edges, but no Volkswagen, no matter how much you tune it up, is ever going to beat a Porsche. So, ultimately, I think self-acceptance for who you are, and then putting yourself in environments where you are celebrated for who you are, is great. For example, I would probably be a terrible EMT or any kind of hyper-stressful job, and they would hate me. Or in a very cool non-profit where they're expecting everything. Let's collaborate and let's set up a committee and let's explore and let's see if we can get consensus. A type A like me would be hated there. Find the environments where you thrive and spend as much time as you can in those environments. And I think that's a good place for me to stop. Anyway, I always welcome your thumbs up or, if necessary, thumbs down on my videos. Comment as appropriate. And you can see down there, there's also a share button you can share on your social media. In any event, if you're a type A or somebody who knows a type A and has to live with them or whatever, I hope some of this has been helpful. I am Marty Nemko.